Letters to the resilient ones, to the bold ones, to the courageous ones, to the dependable ones, to the heavily burdened ones. Letters to the Strong Ones podcast. Hey, and blessings, everyone. It's your girl, Steph Jones, also known as Lilac Calandra, and you're here for another episode of Letters to the Strong Ones. This is where we talk about what it means to be strong, what it looks like, how it feels to have everything on our shoulders, and what we're doing to heal. We're not just talking about it to talk about it. We want to talk about the way through. How do we put down some of that strong armor? How do we make sure that we're loving ourselves and loving others? And how do we make sure that we're allowing people to be strong on their own? Because we too are human. Sometimes strong ones are seen as superhuman, like the Avengers. And then you forget about someone's humanity. So you don't care about their emotions sometimes. You just keep piling things on and on and on. So if you identify as a strong one, please tune in for this episode. We have an amazing guest who I'm going to bring up in just a second. Let me read a little bit of her bio. Her name is Angie Hawkins. She's an inner glow coach. That name alone made me want to say, who is Angie? Inner glow coach? Like, I feel like I'm glowing already. But anywho, let me keep going. She is an inner glow coach who transformed high-achieving spiritual women from chasing love and approval to radiating fierce confidence so they can finally feel happy, free, and loved for who they are. Okay, I mean, that's enough for me. I'm going to read a little bit more, but that's enough for me. I'm like, Angie, you have to be on. We have to talk about this. She works with women who've done therapy, read books, tried the spiritual path, but still they feel like something is missing. She's the author of Running in Slippers, which is a raw and vulnerable memoir about finding resilience after emotional rock bottom. And she moved from Chicago to Hawaii on her own. She jumped out of a helicopter and into the ocean, Navy SEAL style, bungee jumped, skydived, and cliff jumped. Yet she's still terrified about allowing herself to be seen. Please welcome Angie. Can't wait to jump into this conversation.
Hey, Steph. First of
Hey,
all,
how are you?
it was one of the best introductions I've ever had. And also, I'm so impressed by your pronunciation of Hawaii. So that was amazing. Way to set the tone. I'm like so pumped now.
Come on, that's it. I feel like we're made to share energy with each other, and if I want guests to bring the energy, I can't be dull and boring, so perfect. Oh, I'm so glad you liked it. I'm like, it feels weird hearing your bio. It's like, is that me? So I always want to try to do it justice and give it the inner glow that it needs, especially for this one. Okay. I love it. So thank you for being here. So I did read your bio. It's wonderful. Let the listeners know just about your inner glow coach journey, right? We'll get into your strong story, but like, what does that look like? Like what you're doing now, who you're helping, and why is that a passion of yours?
So I help, like you said, I help high achieving women who are stuck in this pattern of chasing love or performing for love and approval and everything outside of themselves to come home to themselves so that they can radiate internal confidence and finally feel happy and loved for who they are.
That's huge. The word, my mother's an English teacher, right? The word finally hits me. Finally, you've been looking for love, you've been looking for happiness. And with high achieving women, what we think is happiness or what we see as happiness is really material. It's kind of fluff. It's not necessarily something rooted in true happiness. So that word finally is like, I've been searching everywhere for it. I've been searching in other people, places, substances, locations, activities. I'm on the board of this, I'm doing this, but I have not found happiness. And when I found an inner glow coach, I was finally able to achieve that happiness. That's awesome.
There's nothing inherently wrong with achieving, but to your point, a lot of women this isn't even just relevant to women. It's anyone can fall into this trap. Is that when your achievements are rooted and depend on external things, and then it's like no amount of money or job benefits or awards or anything will ever fill that hole. And my coaching program, it's called Shine from the Inside. And the entire concept is based on the fact that we're all born with this light inside of us. But, because you see kids, they're like running around, their clothes are dirty. They don't care what anyone thinks. They're just being who they are. And then you go along life and society or family systems or whatever are like, well, you should do this or you shouldn't say that. And slowly our light gets dim and we start conforming to things outside of ourselves. And I feel like a lot of self-help is marketed as, well, you need to fix yourself. But it's just coming back home to who you really are. And that's where the happiness and fulfillment is. So even if you don't get the promotion, you can still feel happiness and fulfillment inside of you. You don't, like, the things outside of you can be the icing on the cake, but you don't need those things.
Right. No, absolutely. I love all that. And it's like, once you discover that piece of yourself or the pieces that you felt were missing and stuff like that, you realize what is really important in life.
Yes.
You recognize like what I was thinking mattered doesn't. And I like that you said, like the kids who didn't have clothes or no food to eat, someone wearing the same shoes, they have holes in their shoes, are talking, but they have real love, and it makes you forget about some things you don't have. And then people with a lot of material things, sometimes they're the most unhappiest people in the entire world. And so it's really putting priorities in place, which really allows you to see things from a different perspective.
Yeah. And I like how you've used this word several times. It feels like something's missing, because a lot of women may not be able to identify with, okay, I'm a people pleaser or I'm a dysfunctional overachiever. But so I tell people, like, if you're not sure if you are those things, you always know by how you feel. And generally the feeling is something is missing. Like, I have the job, I have the family, I'm checking all the boxes, but I still don't feel happy and fulfilled. That's usually the primary feeling that you would feel.
That's usually it. And, that's my life's work, as a marriage and family therapist, and really transitioning into mindfulness life coach, right? Where I offer now therapeutic counseling or therapeutic life coaching, because you have to mix the two. I feel, there's a lot of the mental stuff that comes to the life coaching. Yeah. And when people are letting me know their issues, I like to break things down a fraction. And so I thank you for saying that, because I'm like, when I realize that something is missing, you are overcompensating for something. You're trying to fulfill something, even being a strong one, right? You have to prove something to someone. I need to prove this to you, that I'm strong enough to handle this. And I have to overcompensate. I have to abandon my own boundaries, my own well-being. I have to abandon myself. And when I start looking into people, you start to see that there are so many holes and voids missing, that's what your focus is. Let's work to fill those voids, those holes, with good substance things, not like with cheap stuff, because you feel it opens back up again. You fill it with something wholesome and well, so that the holes don't keep coming open.
Exactly. The whole name of the game is the lasting change, because that's just it. Because I think this was part of what I gave you for my bio. I used to read self-help books. I used to have like certain spiritual practices. And just to be clear, there's nothing inherently wrong with those things. But for me, they only provided a temporary fix, because it was like, I felt good in the moment, but I didn't feel like it gave me the tools to like actively create habits that created the lasting change.
Yeah. And typically it doesn't, I was born and raised in the church, right? Ordained to preach, all that, prophesy, singing and praise and worship, love all that. This is not a but, it's a however, because I don't want to negate what I just said. But however, I realized that you do need something else to supplement. Spirituality is great, right? But it only covers our spirit. So I need to take care of my mental and also my physical, because the being, now we're talking about the whole being.
Yeah.
And when you realize that lack is there, that what I realized, especially being in the church for so long, right? You overcompensate with spirituality and you neglect everything else.
Yes.
So, or you overcompensate with self-help books and you neglect your spirit and you neglect your physical, or you go to the gym 24/7, but you neglect everything else. This is all about balance. You know what's funny? I'm very intuitive, very discerning. I was like, man, I bet she was a gym rat. I just said it in my head, like, oh, I bet she was a gym rat, because that's usually how it goes.
And I like had a 6-pack. I ran marathons, but my internal world was a mess.
A mess.
Yeah.
You should have been on my 600-pound life spiritually, and like that. So it's like that, like looking good on the outside. In our society, Angie, oh my gosh, it tells us to just be externally beautiful. People are getting their bodies done, their teeth, foreheads, eyebrows, noses, chins, everything. Work done. Right now, everyone's starting to look the same, but that even shaped the same. But it's fine. It is what it is. Everyone's face is really tight and so forth and so on. But inside is not looking like that. So we've taken care of the outside, the external, and internal. We have abandoned everything. And the person has crutches, and their leg is broken, and the arm is in a sling. And it's like we need to take care of everything.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. All right. So now that we, got into it, let the listeners know a little bit about, or a little bit or a lot of it, right, about your strong journey. Why were you considered a strong one, and what did that look like? Where did that stem from for you?
So, like most people, my story starts in my childhood, and
Sure.
I grew up in a household. Both of my parents were emotionally unavailable. And as an adult, I understand what that means. But as a child, I didn't have the tools to make sense of that situation. So very early on in my life, I developed a belief that I didn't deserve to be loved. And as you're probably aware, your beliefs dictate your behaviors, which dictate your experiences. And I usually don't go into a lot of detail about my childhood because I'm not criticizing my parents. I'm just stating how things were. But because it's relevant to this podcast, I'll go into a little more details. Because my parents were emotionally unavailable, at a young age, I became unintentionally their emotional caretakers.
Yep.
And especially my mom, she was very highly reactive and angry. So I felt like it was my responsibility to soothe her. And because she was highly reactive and chaotic, I felt like I had to be the strong one and could never be the one that could unravel, or nothing could ever be wrong with me, because even if I did display emotions, it was too much for her and she couldn't handle it. So I learned very early on that me having any emotional needs was a burden, and it was so much safer for me. And again, when I say like childhood, I'm actually referring to up until 18 years old when I moved out of the house. And even then, emotionally, there was still some things which I'll get into. But so for 18 very strong years, it's like I had to be the strong one and keep up that facade of, and again, it was self-imposed, but it was part of my environment of being the strong one and emotionally keeping it together. So again, your beliefs dictate your behaviors, which dictate what you experience. So needless to say, I struggled for a very long time because I was a people pleaser. I was a dysfunctional overachiever. And so I was always chasing and performing for things outside of myself. And again, it's when you're only, motivation is something outside of yourself, you are never fulfilled. And so I was unhappy and unfulfilled, but I didn't understand why. And also something came to me when we were talking about being a gym rat, because when you are an overachiever, or in that case, I had a 6-pack and I ran marathons, you do get these intermittent rewards from society, because even though my running was severely dysfunctional, the only reason I ran marathons was to numb my feelings, because I didn't want to feel my feelings. But I would get praised externally, like, oh, you did such a good job on the marathon. And again, I was chasing that approval. So society in a way kind of feeds into this dysfunction. And the first real turning point in all of this came in 2017. My boyfriend broke up with me, and then my dad passed away. And so I was plummeted into profound grief. And I was 37 years old. I had spent 37 years running away from my feelings. So I didn't know how to feel my feelings. So I basically felt like a zombie for the rest of the year. But the interesting thing about that was, we live in a just get over it society. So he died in February. So maybe around April, people just expected me to be over it. And me being the strong one, even though I was still an extreme grief, an unraveling inside, even though I felt like shit and was like, because grief is just so dark and heavy. It's hard to explain to someone who hasn't lost a parent, or, I mean, there's different forms of grieving as well. But, you know, I'm in this deep, dark grieving, but externally I'm being the strong one and pretending everything's fine.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel good because there's a huge disconnect, and it's already exhausting to perform, but it became even more exhausting because I just felt so horrible inside. So anyway, at the beginning of 2018, I was finally sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make some changes in my life. So I was living in Chicago, and I decided to move to Hawaii, which was well-intentioned in the sense that I was actually proactively taking action to do something better in my life, because I had not taken action for almost a year. But it wasn't well-intentioned in the sense that I was still reaching for something outside of myself to be the thing that made me feel better. So I moved to Hawaii, and you can't move away from your problems. So I still had the exact same problems that I had when I lived in Chicago. And not only that, I developed a whole new host of problems. So for example, this was 2018, so it was before remote work was the trendy thing to do. But my job was very generous, and they allowed me to move to Hawaii and work remote. But right when I moved, there was this huge management shakeup at work, which threatened my role. So the entire first year that I lived here, I was in constant fear of losing my job. I also had a really hard time making friends, which is something that I had not experienced in Chicago. So it was super lonely and isolating to not have friends in a place that I was thousands of miles away from anyone I knew. And the other major thing that happened right when I moved here is, to prove how committed and all in I was on my decision, I bought a condo immediately. And a month after I closed on my condo, a shared pipe in the building backflowed into my bathroom sink, and I wasn't home. So my entire condo flooded. So right off the bat, it was just not good. And then for the next 2 years, it was like thing after thing after thing. Like my grandma died, there was all these other things. And again, during this whole time, I'm just like putting on this facade of being the strong one. You know, but the truth is, you know, I am a strong person, but you can really only take so much. So then COVID happened, and I don't think I have to explain why that didn't help the situation. So the straw that broke the camel's back was the end of a relationship during COVID. And that's when the whole facade just came cracking down, because I could not pretend to be strong anymore if I tried. I was just at a point where, you know, I think we all have points in our lives where we're just like, I can't take this anymore, but somehow you find the strength to keep going. But not only did I feel like that, but there was just this layer on top of that of just sheer hopelessness, which is such a dangerous place to be, because I could not see any hope for the future. So I intentionally overdosed on my anxiety medication because I didn't want to be here. And so I spent a day and a half unconscious in my bathroom. I spent another day and a half in the hospital. And after I was released from the hospital, I called a friend. I told her everything that happened. And I ended with saying, I can't believe I didn't die. And her response was, it's not your time.
Not your time.
It was so profound. And it sent a cold chill down my body. So in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm here for a reason. I need to get help, and I need to get help the right way. So that was the true beginning of my healing journey.
Wow. Wow. Like, I'll just start, you know, from the end. I'm glad that you're still here, right?
Thank you.
Because what you have to give is going to help. No, not going to. I'm talking about the listeners. It's going to help the listeners. Has already helped countless number of people. But what you have to offer and what you're able to glean from that journey, it's still made to go far in the earth, you know, and to unlock some people and to break some people open. I think the beautiful thing is that you didn't go through all that in vain, that you have now shifted what you went through into something that's making you fulfill your purpose. I've heard that what we experience, what we go through, what happens to us usually is the foundational base of our purpose. That's how we discover it. Like, man, what I went through and how do I help others? And, you know, our childhood stories are so similar, especially being the emotional support child. That's what I call, not an emotional support dog, but an
No,
emotional
that's
support
what I
child.
call it too. Yeah.
It is that, because that's what it is,
Yeah.
right? And you get parentified and you grow up very quick.
Yes.
And at times, you're the only mature adult in the house, even though whether you have two parents, one parent, you're the only mature adult in the house. And so you forget to be a child. And it can be a bit. And honestly, if we don't put a stop to it, we'll be that way for the rest of our lives. Even if our parents are in their 80s, 90s, they will still see us as the emotional support child. And right, I like that you said that you weren't speaking bad about anyone. I'm just paraphrasing, that you weren't blaming anyone. But this is a factual part of your story and needs to be shared. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's no shade to anyone, not down talking anyone, but it's a part of your journey. And it happens to include other people. But the focus and emphasis is on how you made it out and how you put a stop to that. Because usually people, and I still watch people now who are stuck in that cycle, that whoever calls, your parents call, your family calls, no matter what, you drop everything you're doing and just jump and go do it. And it's like, yes, I'm all for supporting family and being there with family. There has to be boundaries in place. And so, if you don't have them, then you're a doormat. You're a wastebasket.
Yeah. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I was out of it. And even now you hear about, because usually caregiving is talked in regards to either adult parents caregiving small children, or adult children caregiving their elderly parents. And in those conversations, what's talked about is how mentally and emotionally draining it is, and how you have to like take care of yourself and fill your own cup. So when you're stuck in this kind of one-off situation and you don't understand the dynamics, your self-care really goes to the wayside. And because you do, like, caring for someone else is a huge demand. And when you're constantly giving to that and not giving to yourself, like in my case, like that's what contributed to that was just one aspect, but that contributed to my downfall, because it was taking so much out of me and I was getting nothing in return. And I mean, to get to the point where I had so little self-worth that I didn't even want to be here, I mean, that's wild.
It's wild, and it's a lot of people's reality. And we're still in the month of September, and this is Suicide Awareness Month, so I think even to bring that in is perfect, because you recognize that what you tied your self-worth into, or what you tied your worth into, really couldn't sustain. It really wasn't made to hold anybody up. That if we don't find that self-worth in here, that if we don't see what's in here, if we put it in our parents, our careers, our material items, what we do, our identity, when those things crumble and fall and fade, there goes our worth and there goes our self-worth. So I love that you said that you didn't realize how bad it was or the severity of it until you got out. And that's usually how it was. Angie, for me, I call myself coming out of the clouds.
Yeah.
Because when you're in your family, you're clouded. You're just there, and you become eye blind, nose blind, hearing blind. You're around a certain scent for a long time. Your nose adjusts to it. Your eyes adjust to it. It is what it is. I got out. I went to undergrad in Miami. I'm from Boston, from Massachusetts, went to undergrad in Miami. And I realized, like, oh, wait, I started getting around other family like systems. And I was like, wait, this seems different, but it feels better than what I know. And so I was like, hold on, like there's another way. There's another alternative way to handle this situation. You mean we don't always have to scream and knock down, drag out, fight? You mean what? Like there's a way, so when you escape and you get somewhere else, or you get into another environment, that is when you really get a chance to see what's happening and what's going on. And it's beautiful and scary and makes you angry all at the same time.
Oh, yeah. And I also like that you describe it that way, though, because one reason I share my story is, one, I know for a fact other people go through the same thing. So it's simply to help people not feel so alone. But also, when I was in it, to your point, like you don't know what you don't know.
You don't
And
know.
so I was feeling happy and unfulfilled, but it's like I just thought that's how life was, and I didn't even see that there was something else available for me
Mm.
until, like, because now that I've done my healing work, and it's a journey, so it's not like I'm at the end or anything, but
Right.
now I'm living my life in a space where I'm happy and fulfilled most of the time. And it's like that's when the light bulb went off, because it was like, oh, it was available for me all along, I just didn't realize it. So that's another reason why I tell my story, because if you're in that space where you don't feel happy and fulfilled and you don't know what to do, just reach out and get help, and someone can help you, because the happiness and fulfillment is absolutely available for you. You just don't see the way out.
I love that. You don't see the way out, and we don't feel worthy of it.
That too,
we don't
yes.
we don't feel worthy of true happiness. Like, well, this is my lot in life. I'm made to care for everyone and never receive love. I'm made to just give and never receive. You are worthy of authentic love, of authentic happiness, right? Authentic wholeness. Because just from the mere fact that you're a human, you have dignity
Exactly.
as a human being, that without us knowing your profession or anything, like if anyone's listening, you're like, oh, I don't, my worth, we don't need to know your profession, your social economical status, where you hail from, how many siblings, whatever. You deserve that honor just because you're a human being. And I
Exactly.
think when you reduce it down to that, it takes away everything else. That I don't need to tell you my accolades and this is that and what I went through. And I deserve self-love just because I'm me and who I am. And so I think when you hit that point, it's a mix up and mashup of so many different emotions. And I do want to kind of transition and get into, some of those emotions that you've experienced, not just for yourself, but as an inner glow coach too, like that you've seen clients go through when discovering that love and really trying to find authentic love. Before we came on live, we were talking about being performative and how our identity is so wrapped up in that. Like, man, as a strong one, all you are is about your identity and what you can do for people. What does it look like to separate from that so that you can find that love inside? And then the love inside is what people are attracted to, where you find that
Exactly.
true love.
Yeah, it's interesting in the coaching that I do, because, a career coach can say, well, I can get you promoted in 3 months, or a dating
Right,
coach can be
right.
like, I can get you 3 dates in a month. And I feel like
Yes.
my results are more like, yeah, like I can make you feel happy. And I know that doesn't sound glamorous and sexy, but it is so cool when you
Mm-hmm,
actually see that transformation in
mm-hmm,
people. And,
mm-hmm.
when someone like comes to you with like really low self-worth and confidence, and then over
Yeah,
time, like you can see it building. And
yeah.
also, even if, because watching changes in yourself is like watching grass grow, but even
Mm,
if they can't see like the smaller changes that I can see, like they do have the moments where they're like, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself because I like set this boundary that I was
yep.
always too afraid to do. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
just so rewarding for me, and obviously them, to see that shift from that like internal confidence, and actually, again, coming home to their self-worth, because it was always there. Same thing with self-love, like to your point, because we're all born with it.
Well,
We just
all
need to come home to it. Yeah. So it's a really exciting process. It's just harder to really convey the benefits of it. But I think, and again, because people who may be in a place of low self-worth and feeling unhappy and unfulfilled, they may not even feel worthy or feel that it's available
nope.
to them. But so it's hard to explain how much it changes your life. But to your point, when you when you're, that's why, another reason why I call it shine from the inside, because the moment that I discovered my self-love, it felt like the sun was shining in my chest, because it was like I could feel the energy going outward. And to your point, people feel that. So you start drawing in better quality friends, or even if you have the same friends, like
Yep.
that dynamic will
Yep.
accelerate and change. And same thing with romantic relationships and your jobs. Like your entire life changes because of this different vibration that you're giving
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's like a moth to a flame. You begin to
Yes.
attract, but it works both ways. You really attract who you are. So if you're noticing that you might be attracting users, right? Or narcissistic people. And sometimes I hate to use the word narcissist because now everybody's using
I
it. Just
know, I know.
narcissist here. You get a narcissist and you get a narcissist and you get it. And it's like,
It's so
did
overused.
you know exactly what that meant or no? Or is this just something like a fad to say? But when I say it, I mean really like, okay, I've looked in the DSM-5, I've looked it up, I've seen what type of criteria you need to meet that and yada, yada, yada. But it's like, you begin to attract that, and as a strong one, you give selflessly, and you give and you give and you give. And if you don't have someone who's a protector, not just romantically, but friendship wise, how many strong ones have been taken advantage of because we don't know our own self-worth, and we attract those leeches around us. Oh, you know what? I know Stephanie, I know Angie, they won't say no and they won't deny me. And so I'm just going to keep asking and asking. So we have to even protect that space around us. Like who is loving us romantically for sure, friendships and all that tie in, but who is loving us, who is pouring back into us, and is that person not just a giver but a protector, that they know I'm an overgiver, like I will give everything, but I need to be with someone who's going to say, hold on, nope, that's okay, you don't have to do that, because they see I'm doing it out of love, but they love me so much that they don't want me to deplete myself. And that I think is like, oh, okay, you have to know who you need to be around. And I like that you mentioned the measurable success. How do you say, oh, I can make you happy in 2 weeks? You can't even really put a time frame on it because it depends on the person. But I love that those measurable moments that, you know what, I stuck up for myself, and it brings you so much joy.
Right? Yeah.
Little things.
I know a huge rude awakening in my healing journey was my accountability and a lot of the dysfunctional dynamics that I was in, because for a long time I would play the victim, like, my mom's taking advantage of my boundaries, or my boyfriend treats me like shit. But the truth is I was letting them. So that's another reason why when you show up in a different way, the world around you is changing, because the world around you is just responding to whatever you're giving out. And that's not to say people won't try to walk all over you, but the difference is now you have the boundaries to not let them. And by boundaries, I mean the self-respect, because it starts with developing that practice of behaviors, but that's what changes your actual subconscious beliefs to know, I don't deserve this kind of treatment. So I'm either walking away, or if they're willing to change, working with them within that dynamic.
No, it's true, because, especially depending on how you were raised, your childhood, you learn from an early age to abandon your boundaries, to abandon your needs, to abandon your own well-being. And as you grow older, if that isn't stopped, if that isn't recognized, nipped right in the bud, then as a preteen, as a whatever, the full teen, as a young adult, as an older adult, you really begin to say, I have to abandon myself to help others. No one can sustain that. And I like you mentioned that even when you were telling your journey, like, I'm strong, but I can only be so strong. We all have different breaking levels. Some people can take, I mean, for 10, 15 years, whatever. I'm hoping not, right? Like, come on, let's unload. This is the time to unload. I'm hoping not. But some people can take if they don't have the right resources, if they don't hear resources like this one, if they don't encounter coaches who can help them. You take, in your generation too. I mean, if you're in the silent generation, you were taught to shut up and take it. Boomers, don't complain, just do it. Put your head down and keep doing it. It didn't, and then as each generation comes, we're like, we can't take this anymore. And my capacity for endurance is getting lower and lower. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you say, you know what? I don't want to break as much as I did. I don't want to be ready to end my life and take my spirit and soul and body out of this world again. So I recognize myself and I say, this is getting a little heavy. Let me take this off. And to your point with the boundaries, either they respect it or they don't. You respect it, we can continue this relationship. If not, then we have to part, because you're not going to break me or kill me or deplete me to the point where I don't even know who I am anymore.
Yeah, and that's what true self-respect really is. And unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way, but
me too. Me too. But I appreciate the hard way. I appreciate the hard way because it allows people to not have to go through what we went through. We walked through the fire. We walked through the jungle that wasn't cut. So now people can say, I see their experiences. If I want to go through the fire, I can. Everyone has their own fires. I'm saying you don't have to go through my exact fire, because I'm telling you, hey, it's hot there, just move around. Now, sometimes people want to do the experience. If you want to do that, go right ahead, but you don't have to do it. You have the option now.
It sounds like a bad vacation advertisement. The experience. Do you want the fire experience?
Yes, yes. Which is so funny because, when I was growing up in elementary and middle school, we had the DARE program, and it talked about drugs. And I'm just being honest, it talked about all type of drugs and whatnot. And I could see the look of amusement on my peers' face, like, oh, I want to try that.
Right.
It didn't
Like,
the DARE program didn't do really what it was supposed to, because it got us intrigued. What? The effects of what? I'll feel like I'm floating.
say,
I'll see colors. It's like, oh, I want to try it.
Yeah, I do think the DARE program had the opposite effect.
You can see with the generation that it first started, appearing to, presenting to. If you see that generation now, DARE is out the window. DARE is rolled up, smoked up. DARE is gone. So, that's just how it goes. But just kind of jumping back into the conversation, and I love the tangents. I love just in different directions that the conversation can go, because this is so multi-layered, even multifaceted. Like, there's so many different places that you could go and see. And when you talk about your discovery journey, sometimes it brings up those emotions that are still there. You're healed from it, but it's still a little tender, sore spot. I know when I was going through my program, one of my professors said that we're wounded healers, not still bleeding necessarily, not still with open sores or open wounds, but when you touch a certain spot, or when you go near something, it's still a little tender, and you end up healing and loving and sharing and growing from that tender spot. And boundaries, for me, I know, create that tender spot where I feel so bad sometimes about, oh man, I got to put this boundary in place, but it's either them or me, and it's not going to be me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, if I have to say, oh man, who do I have to abandon? I'm not abandoning myself anymore. So I have to deal with the uncomfortability of the boundary so that I can exist in this life in a healthy and whole way.
I completely agree. My number one value in life now is that I'm loyal to myself.
Come on.
When I frame everything in that perspective, and that's not to say I don't still feel guilt when setting boundaries, because I do, but that's how I can feel the guilt and do it anyway. Because it's like my feelings are the most important priority to myself. So that's what I'm going to prioritize.
That's what I'm going to put first. Because what I realize is, usually we are not even, I'm not even saying on the back burner, we're not even on the stove, we're not even considered.
Yeah.
We're no one's first choice. Because people are just like, no, they can handle it. I don't need to worry about their emotions. They just need to worry about mine. And sometimes that's intentional, and sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes people are just like, man, Angie's just a person that I can just pour into and I can just unload on, not in a malicious way, not in a, I'm just going to dump on you way, but like, man, she's just proven herself to be such a good vessel to receive, not realizing that you need that as well. And that it's like the reciprocity has to go both ways. But if we're like, I'm never going to say anything, we literally are never anyone's first choice, second choice, third choice. You end up getting pushed off the stove. That's why I said, forget the back burner. Strong ones are not really on the stove. We're not even, our pots are not on the stove. There's no fire going to them, no cooking. It's not that you forgot about the pot. You forgot to put the pot on the stove. So unless we are loyal to ourselves, unless we have that love that we give to ourselves and put ourselves first, like you said, not in a selfish way, but in a way that says, I have to take care of myself, or I'm really no good for anyone else.
Yeah, that's such a good metaphor. And that's another thing about being a strong one, because there's so many things. But again, you have to take accountability for your role, because I used to get, I think the word is resentful, because I would hold space for other people's feelings and emotions, but they would never do the same to me. And I would be like, I'm like, why aren't they holding space? Or why can't I just feel how I want to feel? But it was because most of the time I would have that strong facade. So I think other people's assumption was, well, she can, because you said these words, she can handle it. Or, and so you are playing a role in that as well.
Yeah. You are, and I love that. I mean, and when you come into that level of maturity, when you say, I'm taking accountability for my role in this, because it's like, if you do look so strong, no one is going to offer help. That doesn't mean to look like a weakling. It just means to be honest and a little vulnerable, which is a scary word, the V word, vulnerable. It's like, how vulnerable can I look so that people know, oh, you know what? They actually do need help. I know they're strong. I know they helped me in the past, but they actually do need help. I went through something, man. I was in like financial straits. I've always had money. I've always had a good job. But like when I moved abroad, it was like, man, just things were like looking kind of rocky. And so for the first time in my life, I started asking people for financial help. And when I tell you, Angie, that no one believed that I actually needed help, that no one could comprehend or fathom the fact that Stephanie Jones needed help. And the help, it was so scarce. And I was so upset for a while, so upset to the point where I decided to cut people off, like backing up for people. Because I'm like, I gave you everything, not just financially, I mean, emotionally, mentally. I was your living therapist. You could call me whenever. I'd be like, oh, let me hear it. And how did that make you feel? And how, because it is what it is. You just do it. And I'm like, in my time of need, people were sending me scriptures. I'm like, I can't take a scripture to the bank. People were sending me affirmations and words. And I'm like,
I remember I was going through a really hard time, and my aunt sent me like this motivational quote, which I know it was well-intentioned, but I was like, come on.
Not right now. I don't need a motivational quote. I don't even need a scripture. That's no shade to anything. I could go pick and read my own scripture. What I'm asking you for, are you able to give? And some people said they could and didn't. And it just happened. And you realize like, oh my gosh, not only is my circle of people who can authentically help me small, but I was feeling so angry. And I'm like, maybe I put too much anything into this. Not that, oh, the person is, mad at me or just doesn't want to help me, but maybe I put too much emphasis on this. And because I gave, like you were saying, it's like I poured out, I was so available to you, and now you're not able to do it. That's an unrealistic expectation that I had of that person. They never said they were able to help me in that way. They never said they were able to assist me. So taking that accountability is painful. No one wants to do that.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no one wants to take that accountability, and no one wants to be there in that space where it's like, oh, I had a part in this. I had a part to play, and everyone's seeing me as strong. We didn't ask for it. We had to be strong from our childhood. I don't think anyone says, I think I want to be a strong one. I'm choosing to be a strong one. It's built out of survival, that if you're not strong, then you die. That if you're not strong,
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've had people compliment me on being strong, and I actually don't take it as a compliment because it's
cringe.
It's like, I don't want to be strong.
You think we chose this? And I read a post about that. I'd read a post and I'd done a post about that. Like, it's not a compliment to say, oh, yeah, you're so strong. Like, okay, this strength was born out of childhood trauma, but thank you for reminding me of that. Excuse me while I go cry in the corner, because now I have to remember that you say, I have to be this way, or I'm just going to break, or no one else in my family is going to be taken care of if I have emotionally unavailable parents or emotionally immature parents or narcissistic parents, even physically unable to do anything parents. If no one else steps up, then if no one else steps up, I have to do it. And that's where that strongness is born from. So it's like, that's a word to everyone, listeners, everyone. Don't compliment strength anymore in that way, because
it's well-intentioned, but
of course.
Yeah.
But it feels terrible when someone says, oh, Steph, you're so strong. It physically makes me go, like, no.
Yeah, it feels like being punched in the stomach.
Yeah, I'm like, don't call me that, please. Don't call me that anymore, because especially for women too, where we have to be strong. we have to be strong in everything that we do. And when you begin to see someone's strength and forget their humanity, you don't know your limit of pouring. And so you're going to pour out on them and give to them and assign them in at work. And you talk about high achieving women at work. I see all these memes and it's like, don't let your job know that you're a good worker, because, everything is going to be put on you.
Trust me, I know.
So strong ones, we're the ones who, oh yeah, well, I'm good, good, good. And everything's put on you.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. So I don't know, it's a journey. It's a journey that you go through and you say, what do I need to do? What accountability do I need to take? And how do I need to navigate out of this space? And, for listeners, if you're there right now and you are considered the strong one everywhere in everything, and you really want to find that authentic love inside, and you really want to be able to be around people who love you just for you, not for what you can do, like, there is a path there. There is a journey there. You can achieve it. You're looking at two people who have come through that and have made it, not arrived, but have made it through. Healing is a journey of continuation. It keeps going and going and going. And then you hit a few bumps in the road, some smooth spots, some tears, some anger, some laughter, some joy, some pain, but you keep going. So you can make it out on the other side of that.
Yeah. And just to reiterate in just different words, there is hope, because, I say that because of the position I was in of not having hope for a different way of living, but there is hope.
There is hope, and it's like, sometimes we just can't see our way out. And because our vision is so clouded, and it's like, when you're strong, you have to keep your head down, and there's not much time for anything else, because if one person's not dependent on you, you get them situated, and then another 3 people are like, hey, I need you in this way. You patch up one hole on the boat, and then another leak springs up, and you're like, wait. You forget, you neglect yourself, you forget yourself, and you don't honor yourself. Speaking of that, can you share some of your self-care and what you do to make sure that you're still considered a strong one, but it's healthy and strong. You could be a strong one in a healthy way. What do you do for self-care, making sure that Angie is okay?
The number one thing is boundaries. Like, that changed my life. If you do anything for self-care, it's boundaries. And I know we already talked about that, so I won't get into a lot of the details. But another thing that I make a practice and I recommend to anybody is doing at least one thing a day that brings you joy. Because another one thing when you're the strong one is that you're constantly giving to things outside of yourself. And when I moved from Chicago to here, like in Chicago, it's work hard, play hard. So like Monday through Friday, you're all business. So when I moved here, I'm not even exaggerating, it took me about a year before I could do anything fun Monday through Friday. And I live like a mile and a half away from the beach, but I was like, I can't go to the beach because it's Wednesday and I have to get shit done. And that also contributed to my downfall. So now my one thing that brings me joy is surfing. So I go surfing almost every single day because that just, it's just feeding into that self-love and self-respect, because it's like, I love myself so much that I know that I deserve it regardless of what else is going on in my life. And even on a busy day where I literally do not have time, I love to dance. And most songs these days are only like 3 minutes long. So it doesn't even have to be something that's time consuming.
Exactly. It's and sometimes we make self-care into having to travel to Bali, take a 2-week vacation to Bali, and that's what's considered it, or something highly expensive and doing this and doing that. No, it's something simple, something that we can step outside of what we normally do, and it interrupts the pattern of busyness. Surfing, dancing, right? It's a 3-minute song, so it's like we can't take the time to do that. Of course we can. I love that. Yeah, I love that. And I love that you mentioned the boundaries. One, I want to say, I don't think there's ever a time when we can say, oh, I've talked about boundaries enough.
I know.
So if you would want to expand on it, you could. I am a fully team boundaries and a half, right? Like, because I always say boundaries are to preserve the relationship, not to end it. That if I'm putting a boundary up with you, that means I love you so much that I want to still be around you. Should you neglect to listen to that boundary or honor it, then we can't be together anymore. Boundaries save relationships. They shouldn't end them. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
always, open to talk about boundaries.
And have found that people actually, the right people, respect you
Right.
more when you have strong
Absolutely.
boundaries. Because
Absolutely.
the first place I really started implementing them was work. And again, like I felt the guilt, I felt everything, but it got to the point where people would actually say to my face, like, wow, you have really good boundaries.
Yep.
And they respected me for it. And so, and it just goes to show that other people notice it and treat you accordingly.
They do. And you know what? They treat you accordingly, and it encourages them to have boundaries too. Boundaries are contagious.
Yeah.
You sneeze on someone, oh, they get the boundary. Boundary. Everyone has boundaries now, and it really makes for better work-life relationships, romantic relationships, family relationships, business, whatever. When everyone has those proper boundaries in place. And I like that you said about the respect of the boundaries, right? Because those who love you and care about your well-being will honor your boundaries. They won't keep blowing past them. Boundaries are like that stop sign, not a rolling stop. Stop all the way. Stop right there because I've asked you to, because now you're doing something illegal. A rolling stop, you can get a ticket. The police.
I like this analogy. Yeah. Yeah. You could still get a ticket for a rolling stop. Yeah.
And I don't drive. I've never had my license. I got my permit when I was like 18, let it expire. But I know about the laws of the road.
I'm definitely a rolling stopper. And well, it's situational, obviously, not if a car's coming.
Of course. Don't incriminate yourself. Hold on now. Hold on.
No, but I was going to say something on that and I forget.
Mm-hmm.
Basically just that the people who are meant for you. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Because usually, not that you do not owe anyone an explanation when you set a boundary, especially not an over explanation. I usually do try to give a short blurb. Like, so for example, if someone were to invite me to do something this weekend and I were to say, you know what, I just really need to like relax for my mental health. Like I will specifically put that in there. And then if they still like pressure me or try to talk me out of it, that just shows me how much they respect me because I'm specifically saying
everything.
I'm protecting my mental health. And they're like, well, I really don't care about your mental health. I care more about me. Yeah. So that's a good way to, gauge other people, how much they're respecting your boundaries.
It really is. And I think that's a good place to start landing the plane, right? Where we're talking about finding that type of love, in your work and what you do, which starts with the love we have inside, right? When you're talking about that glow inside, the sunshine inside, like, when you said when you were discovering yourself and it felt like sunshine and sunlight inside, that's where this has to start. And boundaries is a really good way to make sure that glow is inside, that we are not allowing anyone to determine, how light or how dark, our glow is, that our hand is on the dial, that if we want to turn it up, we turn it up. And if we want to turn it down, we turn it down, that we're not giving everyone that power or anyone that power, and it's beautiful in that way. And boundaries really help us to do that. I want to thank you, one, for being here, but for sharing your story. Like, man, I know people are resonating with it because it's a story a lot of us have, but a lot of us don't have the courage to share it because we're still in it. When someone's healed from something, the language is different. The scent is different. You can tell you lived through that, but man, you healed through that and you are healing through that. And it can be difficult to talk about what you went through if you're still in it and you haven't really taken the work to undo and to relearn and to kind of patch up some of those wounds.
That is so true because I used to not be able to talk about my story without just breaking down and crying. And even now, sometimes I can feel the emotion inside of me. And it's not easy to talk about. I think I have I have the strong appearance. So people are like, oh, she's so confident and she can, talk about it. So it must not bother her anymore. No, to your point, it's just that I've healed through it, that I can speak to it without that emotion coming outward.
Correct. And thank you for saying that. It's like, oh man, you're so strong. You can talk about it. That that has nothing to do with it. Okay. Thank you. Stop throwing the S word around. Thank you. It's like the strong is like a curse word
It's a
now. I'm
new
like,
S
don't
word,
curse at me. It's like, stop saying that. You're swearing at me because it's like, no, oh man, you're so brave. You're so strong. One, no one asked to be that. It was created, right? But then it's like, no, I've actually done the healing, which makes it, that's what I was talking about before. You're healed from it, but it's tender, that spot. I've never broken any bones. I don't hope to. I don't want to break any bones. But when the rain comes, if you've broken a bone, when the rain comes and when it gets cold, you feel that tenderness, and that's how it is. It's healed. You're good. They set your foot nice. They might have put a rod. They might have had to give you a splint. But when that cold comes, or when you start talking about certain things, you still feel the tenderness of it. You're healing through it, and that feeling is okay. It reminds us that we're human. We're not robots. Strong ones are seen as robots. Like I can do everything. I want to feel that little bit of tenderness, that little pain. It reminds me of my humanity.
I love that you said that, because I always used to think like, I can't feel angry. I can't feel sad. I can't feel this. And now I've learned to like, like how you just said it, that's okay. Because we're human beings. It's okay to have feelings. You just don't stay there.
You don't stay there. You feel it and you move right through it. It's just like waves in an ocean. I love that so much.
And as
Angie,
a surfer, I
please.
always love ocean analogies.
That's why I gave it to you, girl. That's why I said it, girl. Okay. But I wanted people to know where to find you. I'm gonna link and put all of your social medias in the description of this episode. But where can people find you? Should they want? Not should they? I know they want to connect. Where can people find you, my love?
My website is Running in Slippers, which is also the name of my book, which we didn't even touch on the book, but basically it covers my story, and it's really vulnerable. And the reason I wrote it that way is because I don't feel like we're having these conversations enough. Because even the stuff I write about in my book, most people who even knew me didn't even know what was going on until I published the book. That's how strong my facade was. So there is information about the book. It's available on paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. There's also information on my coaching program. You can also schedule a free glow up session with me. And it's a 60-minute call. I'm getting ahead of myself because I am offering your listeners a bonus, but the glow up session is a free 60-minute call. We can talk about whatever you're struggling with, and we'll work through it as much as we can in the 60 minutes. And then at the end, I will give you recommendations, because my program is not for everyone. It's not a good fit for everyone. I'm not a good fit for everyone. So if it's not a good fit for you, I know other coaches. I have other resources that I can refer you to. The entire goal of the call is to get you help. And if I am a good fit for you, I do have a bonus that I'm offering to anyone who tells me that they've heard me on your podcast. Is I have a call. It's called a Radiance Road Intensive. It's a 90-minute call. It's normally $297. But again, a lot of self-love begins with developing habits, like the habit of setting boundaries, the habit of doing one thing a day, that brings you joy. So the Radiance Roadmap is basically mapping out what that looks like for you so that you have a longer term plan. Because again, the practice of having these behaviors actually reprograms your subconscious mind to be like, yes, I do respect myself. I do trust myself. And that is where true, unshakable love comes from. And that's how you come back home. So if you want to work with me on a shorter term basis outside of the coaching program, the Radiance Intensive is normally $297. But if you heard me on this podcast, it is a free bonus to you.
Oh, how wonderful. Listen, jump on that. Okay. All of this information will be available. All the links to your website. I'll make sure it's in the description so people can click on it and be encouraged to do that inner glow, because that's everything. Okay. That's what we need in this time. We see how the world is going. We need to be able to glow, 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 and other people see our light and be encouraged to glow as well. Okay.
Yeah. And on that note, since you're going there, again, my coaching program is called Shine from the Inside. So obviously the first priority is lighting your own light, which contributes to your own quality of life. But then, like the sun, it keeps radiating outward. So you're inspiring the people around you to shine their light. And I'm of the mindset you're either contributing to lowering the vibration of the universe with fear and anger and that vibration, or you're contributing to raising the vibration of the universe. So even though you're one person, you shining your light is contributing to raising the vibration of the universe. So it's like this whole thing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So all that will be available and people will be able to know how to reach out to you. Again, thank you for being here. This was such an amazing conversation and just a healing conversation. I feel like every conversation you have with another strong one, you know, you get healed, you're able to share energy and glean from each other and say, oh, I'm looking at another survivor, which I think is beautiful and rewarding and just lovely all in itself.
Agree. Thank you so much. I love this conversation.
Yes, so good. So I hope that you continue to just let your light shine, right? Your glow is beautiful and keep surfing and doing all that. And thank you again for remaining here, right? Even through all the storms, thank you for remaining here and for allowing yourself to be used as a way to help people, right? That's what we need to do in this time. What can we do? What are my struggles make me do? Who do they make me? And how do they allow me to help others? So I wanted to say thank you to you just for being who you are and for giving to society and just contributing to letting people know who they are and their glow and all that. We need people like that in this world.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, because I agree with your mission and you're enabling people like me to have a platform to tell these stories. So thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. They must be heard. They must be heard. Thank you to all the listeners who tuned in. This has been another episode of Letters to the Strong Ones podcast, and we will see you on the next episode. Blessings. Peace.
Bye.